The sight of looters scurrying and widespread rioting across multiple English cities may seem unusual. However, this disorder has a precedent in another overheated August. The recent television images are reminiscent of the 2011 riots, which engulfed London before spreading to other cities and were considered the worst week of public disorder to hit Britain in 200 years. The tragic stabbing of 3 young girls at a dance class in the seaside town of Southport, in northern England, was followed by the worst unrest the UK has seen in decades. The violence, which spread across towns and cities in England and Northern Ireland, was fueled by online misinformation, far-right activism, and anti-immigration sentiment. Why did the killing of children in Southport lead to violence? On July 29, B.B. King, 6, Elsie Stancombe, 7, and Alice De Silva Aguiar, 9, were killed in a knife attack at a Taylor Swift-themed dance and yoga event. 8 more children and 2 adults were injured. Later that day, police arrested a 17-year-old from a nearby village, stating that they were not treating the incident as terror-related. Almost immediately after the attack, social media posts falsely speculated that the suspect was an asylum seeker who had arrived in the UK on a boat in 2023, with an incorrect name being widely circulated. Unfounded rumors also suggested that he was Muslim. Media outlets reported that the suspect was born in Wales to Rwandan parents, but the police urged the public not to spread unconfirmed speculation and false information. The following evening, more than 1,000 people attended a vigil for the victims in Southport. Later, violence broke out near a local mosque, with people throwing bricks, bottles, and other missiles at the mosque and the police. A police van was set alight, and 27 officers were taken to various hospitals. The disorder was widely condemned. Local MP Patrick Hurley said thugs had traveled to the town to use the deaths of 3 children for their own political purposes, while Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer denounced the marauding mobs on the streets of Southport. How the violence spread. Discussions of a rally emerged on regional anti-immigration channels on the Telegram messaging app. Police believe that the violence involved supporters of the now disbanded far-right group, the English Defence League, EDL. The day after the Southport riot, violent protests broke out in London, Hartlepool and Manchester, which police linked to Southport. More unrest occurred throughout the week, with many incidents targeting mosques and hotels housing asylum seekers. Analyses of activity on mainstream social media and smaller public groups by BBC revealed a clear pattern of influencers driving a message for people to gather for protests. Multiple influencers from different circles amplified false claims about the identity of the attacker, reaching a large audience, including ordinary people with no connection to far-right individuals and groups. On X, formerly Twitter, EDL founder and far-right activist Tommy Robinson, whose real name is Stephen Yaxley Lennon, posted inflammatory messages to his nearly 1 million followers while on holiday in Cyprus. One of the earliest signs of brewing protests appeared in a Southport-themed group set up on Telegram about 6 hours after the attack. Telegram, a messaging app with channels for public broadcasts, has historically been used by far-right activists who until recently struggled to avoid being banned on the Twitter X platform. The app became flooded with misinformation about the alleged attacker's identity and posts from other far-right groups, such as the National Front. Users also called for a protest on St. Luke's Street in Southport, where the local mosque is located. An influencer on X associated with Yaxley Lennon, posting under the name Lord Simon, was among the first to publicly call for nationwide protests. Several online graphics promoting the protest were shared on the Telegram channel. Although neither the channel nor its associated chat had many followers, these posters later migrated to TikTok, X, and Facebook, where they were shared widely. "No face, no case, protect your identity," read one poster. Another called for mass deportations. On TikTok, a now-deleted account urged demonstrators to head to Southport, advising them to hide their identities from the police. Who was involved in the UK riots? The situation presents a nuanced picture with some degree of local coordination, but also many instances of locals reacting to what they're seeing on social media, what they're seeing outside in their streets, and just joining in, a police source told the PA news agency. In Sunderland on Friday night, far-right rioters attacked police, set fire to an advice center next to a police station, threw stones at a mosque, and looted shops. Masked thugs were seen actively rioting, while some families cheered them on. Mothers and fathers with pushchairs and children draped in the St. George's flag were also seen on the streets. While some participants were intent on violence, there were also people with concerns about immigration who initially sought to exert their right to peaceful protest. One such person who joined an anti-immigration protest in Rotherham said, "The violent scenes at a hotel housing asylum seekers were absolutely barbaric. This is not what we're here for." Others may have been lashing out in a general sense of frustration, according to a volunteer at the Abdullah Quilliam Mosque in Liverpool. In several cities, violent groups clashed with counter-protesters. In Bristol, anti-racism protesters said they locked arms to stop rival demonstrators from storming a building housing asylum seekers. There was unrest in Birmingham when a group mainly composed of young Asian men gathered to oppose a rumored far-right march that never materialized. UK government's response to the riots. Over 1,000 people have been arrested and nearly 600 have been charged. Among them are children as young as 11. More than 110 people have already been sentenced, with most receiving jail time. The average prison sentence length was just over 2 years, though some cases have resulted in community orders, fines, or younger offenders being sent to young offender institutions. Julie Sweeney, 53, was sentenced to 15 months in prison on August 16 for posting inflammatory messages on Facebook, including one that read, "Blow the mosque up with the adults in it." Judge Stephen Everett criticized Sweeney's online conduct, stating that keyboard warriors must be held accountable for their language, especially amidst the ongoing national disorder. Sweeney follows Jordan Parler, who was sentenced to 20 months in jail for urging attacks on a hotel housing asylum seekers. Parler, along with Tyler Kay, who was also jailed for similar posts, is among the first to be imprisoned for social media activity related to the far-right riots. Reese Greenwood, 31, who live-streamed racial slurs during the riots in Sunderland, received a 2.5-year prison sentence for violent disorder. Home Secretary Yvette Cooper warned that keyboard warriors cannot evade prosecution and will face strong penalties. Starmer echoed this sentiment, reminding social media users that online platforms are not law-free zones. Prime Minister Keir Starmer condemned what he called far-right thuggery. He has promised charges and convictions, whatever the apparent cause or motivation, and said those participating in violence, including those whipping up this action online, would regret it. The government announced that a standing army of specialist officers would tackle the disorder and that police forces would share intelligence on violent groups. It also stated that it was working with social media companies to ensure misinformation and disinformation are removed. Additionally, the government plans to make more than 500 new prison places available to ensure those taking part in the violence can be jailed. Detectives are using a variety of sources to identify suspects, including drone and body-worn video footage. B.J. Harrington, a chief constable who is the national lead for public order, warned that facial recognition, which is being used retrospectively, can identify people even if they are wearing masks. Prosecutors are considering terrorism charges for some suspects, alongside the extradition of influencers allegedly playing a role in the disorder from abroad. The recent UK riots, sparked by the tragic killings in Southport and fueled by misinformation, have highlighted the volatile mix of fear, anger, and prejudice that can quickly escalate into widespread violence. While social media platforms have provided a breeding ground for hate and misinformation, they have also become a battleground where falsehoods can be countered and communities can organize against bigotry. The government's response, including arrests and prosecutions, underscores the seriousness with which it is treating this unrest. However, the deeper issues of social division, distrust, and the manipulation of public sentiment by extremist groups remain pressing challenges that require ongoing attention. As the United Kingdom reflects on these events, there is an urgent need for both governmental and societal efforts to address the root causes of such violence, promote social cohesion, and ensure that truth prevails over misinformation. The riots serve as a stark reminder that in an interconnected world, the consequences of a single act can ripple through society, and it is our collective responsibility to ensure that these ripples do not turn into waves of destruction. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe for more content like this.